everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Technically Trek. I am your humble host, Admiral Dave Prime, and over yonder, there, it's like I still do it just like Manu and Tyson. That's
I got
my
it
fabulous
right.
co-host. Well, the first time I pointed that way first, then that way, but whatever. Growing pains, yay! This is my co-host, Captain Katie. So here at Technically Trek, we do discuss a wide range of topics, which of like, who am I kidding? We talk about Star Trek. What else? Whether it be a new episode, which we've been doing quite a bit with Strange New Worlds, that's coming up later. With Discovery, since there's nothing new, we're going to talk old Trek, classic Trek. As since we were dealing with some technical issues on our episode last week, totally my fault. I just want to give a moment again to thank Amano Interami and Tyson Strasberg for making Dangerous Thoughts possible. And say without them, DT Extra Innings, which was the first part of this. And yeah, just like we just want to talk more about whatever topic we were talking about that day. And it turned out to be like an 8 hour talk on Twitter Spaces. I passed out about 6 hours in, so that was a lot of good times there. But earlier this year, we just. Oh, go ahead, Katie. What?
No, I was just going to say very. Your snoring was like the soundtrack to the final hours of that space.
But at least I wasn't walking around the house in my birthday suit like I did a couple weeks ago.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Yeah. But earlier this year, it was decided that we wanted to give my show a more Trekkie focus to it. So I was talking with Tyson, which I haven't seen him yet, so I'm going to have to text him to say, "Hey, dude, where are you?" Yeah, he gave the idea of technically Trek since we do talk Star Trek. Excuse me, we do talk Star Trek, but it often goes off into God knows what kind of topic, whatever's on everybody's mind, sort of thing. Since it's just a core group of friends, but I want to do this kind of get more face to face interaction with the fans and hopefully get big like some of the other ones that are out there, which hopefully someday soon. Fingers crossed. But how have you been doing lately, Katie? I enough me gabbing. Now give me a chance to.
I've not been doing too bad. Although you nearly didn't have a co-host earlier because things came falling down on me, but I won't get into that. But yeah, everything's been okay. It's currently 2:06 a.m. here, and it's lovely and dark outside, nice and chilly, just how I like it.
Let's see.
And yeah, and I thought that I would advertise my mood today. So yeah, today's mood, cranky with a touch of psycho. But yeah, that about sums up my week.
And I just noticed I got my phone just like, yeah, Tyson texted me like 15 minutes ago. Do you have the link? It's like, yeah, it's in the Discord. Which, by the way, I'd say I should probably get a link on this to get people to join the Dangerous Thoughts Discord. And saying, but next week, got to remember that. But anyways, at least until we get Tyson coming in here, hopefully soon, and some others, and saying, what are some of your opening thoughts from the episode Best of Both Worlds, Katie? You and I did talk early on and say we both noticed something we never noticed before right off the bat.
Yeah, I think it was like 1 minute 21 seconds in or something like that. I mean, first of all, before I get into that, I absolutely love this double episode, and I will admit, I cry at the end. It's a very emotional episode, and right at the end of it, you get to see a side of Picard that is very rarely seen.
Mm-hmm.
Which just leads to a whole other conversation that we will leave till later.
Okay.
But yeah, this was very emotional for a lot of the characters. for I'd say 95% of the episode, I wanted to knock Shelby out.
Sure, there's more than just you.
Oh yeah. But no, like the opening of the episode, like the first part of the episode was really good. But as you've just said, we know we both noticed something straight off the bat that we did briefly discuss before the show, and that is when they beam down to the planet. What's his name? Riker. Oh god, it's starting already.
It's too early to be ditzy.
7 even. But Riker calls up to O'Brien to confirm the landing coordinates. So O'Brien confirms it. He says you should be directly in the center of town. Yet they're right on the edge of the crater. Now, there are no structures, no debris around the crater. So technically speaking, seeing as this is technically Trek, they should, if they were in the center of town, they really should have been in the crater.
And let's see what Tyson says about that, because we just got him in here.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to turn my ring light on because Christ. Jesus. All right, well there. I'm lit. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So,
oh my goodness, I had a haircut. Actually, I had a couple of them cut. Had to get, I my hair was getting so long. I was doing the Donald Trump comb over. It was awful. So,
yeah, I'm due for a haircut this week.
Finally, got that mess taken care of, and I'm here, and I am so excited to talk about Best of Both Worlds.
So did you hear Katie's opening thought from the beginning of the episode? Because I wrote it down too, because I didn't think of it before.
What was that?
O'Brien beaming him to the center of town.
The center of town?
At the very like first minute of the episode. And saying if he beamed them to the center of town, they should have beamed into the air above the crater, just right into the crater.
But yeah, I was saying there's no debris or anything around the outside of the crater, so the center of town must have been like round about the center of the crater, and they were on the edges of it looking in.
I wonder if transporters have a fail-safe that say there's a target destination, right? And, there's no ground under you because there's a crater. If the transporter automatically then, lowers you to materialize where your feet would be right on something solid, as opposed to being beamed into, 40 feet in the air and then dropping. Yeah. Never seen that happen, actually.
Yeah, but actually, now that you mention it, there was like the season 2 episode, The Schizoid Man, when they did that near warp beam down. They just popped out of warp, beamed them down, and they took off again. And Troy made a comment that it felt like I was in that wall for a moment, and Worf's like, "You were," but it corrected itself.
Well, didn't they do that in the original episode too, where they beamed the pilot? It was when they went back in time, and there was a jet pilot that was, the Enterprise was in very low, actually in the atmosphere. The jet could see it. They put a tractor beam on the jet. Jet started to break up. They beamed the captain of the jet, and then
Sean Christopher, I want to say,
probably. You know these things better than I do. And in any event, the 1 hour episode plays out, and it ends up with them doing a slingshot around the sun. Sound familiar, right? Star Trek 4. And as they're doing the slingshot around the sun and they're in time warp, they go back to that point while they're at warp speed in time warp, not just warp, but time warp. And they have to beam him back into the jet at that same moment while they're at warp speed. So, it's canon. It was done before. God, this is a harsh light.
Oh, you look fine, my sweet.
I'm still getting used to this whole. Jesus, am I losing hair? Oh,
yeah. You lost it at the barbershop.
in the garage, Mike cut my hair. Second thought, I think I'm going to do a number 5 next time and not a 4. God, I'm ready to go into the military. Look at this. Anyway.
But hey, it'd be easy for a skull cap if you have to be a zombot again.
Yes. No,
you are never shaving your head like that again, Tyson. I've already said.
Oh, God, no.
And I am unanimous in this.
Yes, Mrs. Slocum.
Yes.
Betty Slocum. God, I love her. What? Oh, it's gonna eat at me. Her real name. I want to say it starts. Molly Sugden or Molly something.
Yes.
Anyway.
We'll go with that.
Love her.
Anyway, back to the episode. Yeah, Riker and the Way team, they beam down. They see devastation. Bam! I think that's like at that time probably the shortest cold open before opening credits.
Actually, it wasn't very long, was it?
No, it's not the shortest is Scorpion. And say we are the Borg UB simulate. Bam! Like 20 seconds. Bam! Cold opening credits.
Now this all starts with Q catapulting them. Now this is not this episode. This is before. Catapults them. They meet the Borg. He brings them back. And then there's the whole, maybe he did the wrong thing for the right reason. We have become a little complacent. Then a few episodes later, we have the incident at the neutral zone where, these bases have been scooped up and they meet with the Romulans and they agree to collaborate to figure out what's going on. And they said, as soon as we saw the Romulans said, as soon as we saw the destruction, we knew it couldn't have been you.
That was the first season finale episode. So that was
right
before Q-Who.
And so I mean, that was a slap across Starfleet's face. Oh, we saw destruction. We knew it wasn't you. You're not that good. And so that was a hint that the Borg, have made it this far. And then, of course, we get it was Wolf 359. Is that where this all takes place?
Well, in the second episode, yeah.
Okay. The first episode, where in space? Is it near Wolf 359?
Well, no. Wolf 359 is where Starfleet had the Armada to try and block Locutus and the Borg cube from making it to Earth.
Right, but where in space? Was it further away, or was it nearby Wolf, where they abducted Picard and then they went just a little further to Wolf 359? Which, by the way, people who don't know, Wolf 359 is a real galactic location. It has nothing to do with Star Trek. Wolf 35. If you go into Google and look for Wolf 359, it's about
7.8 light years.
There you go. That's exactly right. It's within the galactic parsec of where Earth is. So
what is it, about an hour or two away from Earth?
About a day, depending on how fast you're going.
Right. If it's about 8 light years away, it would be 8 years at light speed. Now, warp is multiple factors of light.
I'm not on about reality. I'm on about Star Trek.
Well,
I know that it would take years to get there now, but obviously in Trek, how long would it take them to get from Earth to Wolf 359? About an hour or two.
A day.
Depending on the warp factor, yeah. I mean, if they were at warp 9.9, it would take minutes. If they were at, warp 2, it could take, several weeks. It just, depending on the warp factor. But as quick as they could get there, yeah, it would be less than an hour if they were to go at maximum warp. Sure. Less than an hour.
Yeah, because how long did Admiral Hansen say that it'd take and it'd take the fleet to meet them where they originally engaged with the Borg.
Well, and then you have to decide then where the fleet is coming from, because typically Starfleet is spread out, right? They don't have all the ships just waiting at Earth, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, they said that the nearest help was
6 days away.
6 days away, yeah, right. And they were a hell of a lot further out, and it was taking them hours. What was it, like they had about 3 or 4 hours to be able to keep up with the cube, and I'm just trying. I've literally just watched the episode as well, and
Star Trek is never consistent on these things, and this is one of my. I'm going to nitpick for a real quick second. In Star Trek, we never mentioned Star Trek 5, right? But I'm going to mention Star Trek 5. If you look at
mention TOS in my presence.
If you look at the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, from right here, right? Earth is kind of on the leading edge of one of the spiral arms. That's where Earth is. In Star Trek 5, they go to the center of the galaxy, and they do it in less than a day. Well, if that were the case, then why couldn't Voyager, in a couple of days go to the center and then a couple of days later be at the other end, right? How did the Enterprise A go from, Earth area, which is in the Alpha Quadrant, and get to the center of the galaxy?
Bad script writing.
So, Star Trek, and then they've also been to the Galactic Edge, on, and this is all TOS and the slower warp factor. So then there's transwarp, which is never fully explained. We know that Scotty, fucked it up in Star Trek 3, but that doesn't mean that if he hadn't, it wouldn't have worked and it wouldn't have been faster. So, and then next gen, the warp factors are different. I don't know. I get a headache thinking of all this. So, yes, they could have been a day away or weeks away. It just depends on, what part of Star Trek you want to believe.
Well, transwarp is what the Borg use.
They use transwarp conduits, but here's something that I read online recently that the warp factors in the original series and the warp factors in the next generation are faster. They're instead of cubed, it's like cube 0.5, like 3.5 instead of 3. So each warp factor is progressively faster than its TOG or TOS counterpart. So maybe that next generation is transwarp, what we would have called transwarp, 78 years earlier, is what, and they just dropped the trans because it's the new warp speed. And then based on the new warp speed, what the cubes do through transwarp conduits is a whole nother factor above, like slipstream, transwarp, whatever you want to call it.
Well, a slipstream, like in the world of Trek, because I only speak fictional, not reality. I'm not intelligent enough to do that. But in Trek, the slipstream drive and transwarp are very similar. They go down different routes and they use different components, but it's kind of the same principle because, like, from my understanding, and forgive me, everybody that's watching this, forgive me if I'm very wrong, stupid British woman, but when a Borg cube goes into transwarp, they are not traveling through the normal realm of space, and it's the same with the slipstream drive. It's almost like they're traveling between, and that's what allows them to travel faster and get to places a lot quicker. Whereas when you use just normal warp drive, it's more linear.
I think that's the way slipstream, because the technology in the slipstream, in the episode where Voyager thought they found a Federation ship, but it was really disguised as an alien craft The guy was upset about the Borg, and anyway, he was going to deliver the Voyager crew back to the Borg. That used slipstream technology, and theoretically, in that slipstream, they could navigate anywhere they want, right? They could, like warp, you could, plot destination, here's my current position, here's my destination, plot a course, and we could slipstream there. Transwarp conduits, on the other hand, were conduits, right? They were predefined routes, like a road. You couldn't go off the road. You couldn't just go anywhere at transwarp. You had to pass through transwarp conduits, which were constructed.
Yes, but in a transwarp conduit, now, fair enough, they're all connected to the transwarp hubs. So, and there's what, like 5 of them in the galaxy?
7.
The 7 of them in the transwarp hubs, the 7 of them in the galaxy, so they're all connected to that. But yes, they are conduits, but new ones can be created.
Just like new roads could be built, yeah. But you couldn't,
so that they're a lot more malleable than warp drive is. And yeah, the slipstream drive is probably better because that drive doesn't have the restrictions of a conduit.
Right.
But a transwarp conduit, they can be added to and built to take you to anywhere. So they are very similar. They just use a different process and a different way to like execute, kind of thing. I don't know.
Voyager probably did the most when it comes to different types of locomotion, because you had the episode where there was almost like a Stargate that did a slingshot, but they wouldn't give them the technology to use it. Remember? Then there's the slipstream. Then we talked about the transport conduits. There's the caregiver on the array, which had a different way of pulling somebody faster than the light. And then there's the we don't talk about the warp 10 episode, et cetera, et cetera. So much about locomotion was talked about on Voyager. All the different modes, all the different theories, all the different ways we can go faster than traditional warp speed. I think more so than any other episode. Now, there are others where, in Next Gen, where Barclay, the nth degree, where Barclay, gets really smart and he pulls the Enterprise. There's the Traveler, where the Enterprise goes faster. But probably Voyager, if I had to guess, has more of that.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll definitely be talking about Voyager because next week we'll be talking the 2-part episode Dark Frontier, which Katie was giddy about when she saw that.
Oh yeah, I actually did a little girly scream almost when I saw that episode because it's one of my favorites of Voyager.
Oh, a year ago, I just saw this yesterday. A year ago, you've seen Trek Culture, right? All these 10 things you didn't know about Star Trek, and they've done a million videos. They did a video that the 10 most important people in Star Trek that you didn't think were important. Anyway, they did a whole list of 10. Manu, I think, is number 7 on there, and they talk about Icheb, and they do a whole little section, and they talk a little bit about Icheb and Manu and the other actor and how he died. And there's a lot of comments. People leave, because millions of people watch that video. There's comments below saying that, hey, with the new Star Trek, the whole 7 of 9, the whole, that could be a series, and Section 31. And, of course, Picard left off with Q coming back, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if Q2? What if Q Jr. wants his playmate back? He could just snap him back into existence.
Exactly. Well, we've mentioned this before, Tyson. I think this was mentioned before DT went video on YouTube. We actually discussed this about Q Jr.
Right. I want my friend back. And all you'd have to do is snap his fingers and his friend would be back. Or Q could do it. Or there could be any
Q would
number
do it.
of time travel incidents that could bring him back. I mean, Star Trek is replete with, how many characters died and came back to life? Of course, if
I mean,
the
Data
writers
died. What was it?
wanted
Three
each back,
times?
he'd be back.
Isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, like, was it 3 times that Data died?
Oh my
Or was
God.
it 4?
Data died so many times. Neelix died. They brought him back with nano whatevers.
Yeah.
Probes.
Probe. How many? The gorgeous Romulan samurai. What was his name? The one on Picard. He
Oh.
died.
Oh,
What's his name?
I can't think of his name right now. I feel I'm gonna have to. You know what? I'm getting sold. I'm gonna have to take notes too. But anyway, he died, and of course he came back. So if they want to do it, they can do it, and I'd be all for having each ship back. With regard to this episode, I mean Picard, and there were some speaking about everything that the ship went through to bring Picard back to transform Locutus back to a human, back to Picard, and yet in Star Trek First Contact, when an officer who had just been injected reached out and said, "Captain, please help," he just phasered him, and he told the
That's
crew,
because
"Hey,
of experience and knowledge.
if you run into anybody, believe me, they'd be better off dead." It's a good thing that in the Best of Both Worlds they didn't take Picard's own advice and just kill Picard, right? They could have done that. They could have said Picard is. Well, I don't know. Even if they'd have killed Locutus, the Borg would have still had all his thoughts, all his knowledge, all his plans, right?
Very true.
So getting him back didn't stop that.
The answer to your question, Elnor was the Romulan.
Elnor.
Yes, thank you, Mala.
Oh, Elnor.
Did Mala say that too? I was looking it up. I think we did it at the same time. So you owe me a Coke, Mala.
But, but no,
yeah.
Even though, I mean, yes, they got Picard back, and the Borg were left with his knowledge, but they would have changed so much because of that. I mean, I'm sure that because of Rule 359 and what happened to Picard, I think they changed a lot of procedures, and they continued to do that. And I'm sure that Starfleet would have had like backup plans to immediately put into place for if any of the high-ranking officers were assimilated again. I mean, could you imagine if Data had have stayed at if Data had been assimilated properly?
Here's the thing.
Knowledge he has that would have that could have destroyed the galaxy. To be quite honest, with the knowledge he has a lot more knowledge than people realize.
Why did the Borg want to assimilate humanity? One, the Borg is interested in technology, right? There must have been some technology there that the Borg wanted. If it was just there's a large amount of people and we want to grow the workforce, I mean, they can get people anywhere. In fact, the Borg, it's been said that if you're technologically insignificant, the Borg basically will leave you alone. Where if all they want is bodies to fill spaces in cubes, they could get cavemen. It wouldn't matter once they were, once they became Borg, they would have the knowledge of all the other Borg, and they'd be smart, etc. So why wouldn't you just assimilate any population, regardless of their technological level? Just have the bodies, just have the sheer numbers. But they don't. They're interested in races that are technologically advanced because they can use that technology. So here's what doesn't make sense to me. If that is true, so humanity, is technologically advanced enough that it piqued their interest, why would they go back in time in Star Trek First Contact and assimilate humanity at that stage? Because if they had done that, and if they were successful, and if they did assimilate humanity at that stage, humanity would have never become technologically advanced enough to create the things they were interested in the first place. You know what I mean? It's like...
I disagree with some of the things you've just said.
Oh, please.
The Borg don't just assimilate for technology. They assimilate civilizations that could pose a threat to them, whether they are technologically advanced or not. We just don't find that out until later on. Humanity, just from that one encounter, when Q decided to send them 7,000 light years in the opposite direction, they would have known that humanity would be one of the most resistant species they have come up against. And they would have realized that very quickly. But we would pose a threat to them because we wouldn't stop. What's Marla thought?
Yeah, she
with the Queen, she mentioned that humans are having adaptability and
well, yeah, that would have been appealing, Marla. That is a very good point, and this is what I was just going to go on to. Because they would have seen that, humanity would have eventually have posed a threat. But the one thing that the Borg could never understand is why they were so resistant.
And I think that's Picard's speech after he was on the ship. He says, "We believe in self-determination and all that." There's just like, screw this, screw that.
I don't think they'd ever come up against anybody like Picard before. And this is why I think that they had special interest in him, because the Enterprise and the crew didn't just resist. Picard was like full diplomat. And they've probably never come across that before, but he stood his ground, and the way he presented himself, that'd have been why they sought him out. They called him by name, that they specifically want, oh, Kelly.
Sorry, she was trying to...
They specifically wanted him, and they even said that they wanted him as a bridge between the Borg and humanity. And they hoped that he would be able to convince humanity that, assimilation is the best way to go. Let's all go charge. That's basically what they were hoping. And then for humans to just be like, go on then. Why not? We'll give it a try.
And she wanted an equal. She said, I wanted an equal. So I guess if she was the queen, he'd be the king. I don't know. And they would...
I think she fell in love with him.
Well, in First Contact, she says you can't imagine the life you denied yourself. Such a noble race. We sometimes lack that, or something to that effect.
Such a noble creature, a quality we sometimes lack.
Right.
Sorry, First Contact is my favorite of all Trek.
Oh, I love First Contact. But then, apparently the Q... or the Borg are aware of the Q. There was mention, in the one where Q lost his power. How many times have we told you don't provoke the Borg? Or no, that was a different episode.
No, that was Voyager.
That was a Voyager episode.
Yeah,
how many
Q
times
Junior is just like,
don't
provoke the Borg.
Don't provoke the Borg. So that was one. So, and the Borg Queen and Picard was aware of the time change, and they used her because she was able to know when Q went back into and she knew about the Watchers. So the Borg knew about the Q knew about the Borg. I would be more interested, I know we're talking about humanity versus the Borg and the best of both worlds, But the Borg tend to seek out beings that could annihilate them. Species 8472. I mean, they should have known better, but they went.
Well, yeah, they should have done.
But I mean, maybe did the Borg ever try provoking the Q or using technology to enter the continuum or attempt to breach?
Maybe.
I'm interested
I
in what
think
could
that
happen.
the Borg probably would have done, because if they could have assimilated the Q, then they really would be the ultimate power in not just the galaxy but in the universe, and they could go out to other galaxies. I mean, the transwarp hubs, do they cross galaxies? I don't think so. But if they had the power of the Q, or if they managed to, okay, this is going to rhyme, but I don't care. If they'd have managed to assimilate the power of the Q, and or assimilate species 8472, they could have they'd have been able to have crossed dimensions, different realities. They would be able to cross galaxies, and nothing would have stopped them. So that's probably the reason behind that. Because this is what I never understood about Q when he had a go at his son for provoking the Borg. It was a bit hypocritical. Just a little bit, because
I was thinking that too.
Q himself, he provoked the Borg by flinging the Enterprise across the galaxy, and
sorry, this one won't leave me alone.
Was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I think that Callie might be wanting to join the collective so she can cause.
She does. This thing is a Borg. Look at. She tears me up.
No, she's not. She's a saber-toothed kitty.
She is a Velocicator. Velocicator. I don't know. Look how vicious. Look. She'll bite the fuck out of me.
She's doing it out of love, Tyson.
All right, now I'm going to toss your ass, and you stay over there. She'll be there for 5 seconds to jump right back in my lap. Here she comes.
She's your co-pilot.
Cannot get rid of that cat. Cat for sale. Put up a sign in the front yard. Nobody wants her.
I'll have her. Straight away. I'll have her. Oh yeah, there's something that I want to mention here, because I know that it's not Borg related, but it is episode related. That poker game.
Let's get
that poker game at the beginning. That really bugged me. I mean, how serious was Wesley? It was almost like he was failing an exam.
No, I'm better at poker than Wesley is. I mean, I played.
Oh man, I don't know how to play it.
So I played Texas Hold'em back in 2009 when I was in Sacramento, and I cleaned house, and my friend, darn it, my friend's friends were like, "You played before?" So no, not in person. No, I played on computer all the time, but never in person. I mean, I was bluffing my way out of hands. I had shit for hands, and I ended up bluffing everybody.
But even though Wesley, he folded, he was so serious. The look on his face, the moment, and it's like, it's only a game, Wesley. But he was treating it like it was like a final exam at the academy, and he'd failed it. That was the kind of reaction he gave, and I'm just like, what the hell?
No, I got a better take on that. The fact that they're playing poker when there's a threat of a Borg invasion.
Well, they have to have some downtime. It's like what Riker said to Shelby, though. It's like a different version of it. He cannot have his staff fighting their own fatigue while they're fighting the Borg. And playing poker is a way for them to relax, to chill out, and then get their rest. So they are combating stress and fatigue by doing all of that. And I mean, if Earth was about to be invaded and I knew that I was going into battle, I'd want to do something to chill out. I'd probably be sat reading a book or something, just completely chilling out, or watching Star Trek, or just something stupid like that to, just to chill out beforehand. Because the last thing that I would want is to be sat there with like, all right, yeah, I could be preparing, but I'm too tired to work. I need my rest, but I also need to chill out. So yeah, too right. If I was going into battle in 6 hours or something, I'd still be on here with you lot. I'd read a book. I'd watch an episode of Star Trek. I'd carry on writing my own. I would do that because it's needed. So I completely understand why they're playing poker when a battle is imminent. It makes perfect sense.
But what doesn't make sense, we got over a dozen people watching on StreamYard here, got more people watching on Twitter and on Facebook. Don't be shy. Send Katie a message on X. She'll send you the link to join in. And those that are already joined in right now, don't hesitate to pop in and put in your 2 cents on this episode, because it's just the 3 of us right now. So I got 7 slots available right now. But
yeah, I have my phone to my Twitter.
Yeah, but Shelby is just hockey as heck, and that, I mean, of course, by the end of the episode, she's definitely softened up. But I mean, she's like all gung ho. I was like, I want your job. I'm going to convince Picard I'm going to be your replacement.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
No, I mean, I've never liked Shelby. I know that she softened a little bit towards the end of the episode, and we saw her a little bit in Picard, but I've never liked her. I didn't even like her in Picard, even though she was a lot nicer. But the way she was, I mean, that smug look on her face when she got data to rotate the phaser frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
The smugness on her face, and then the fact that she went over Riker's head and went straight to the captain, I mean, I wanted to slap her. Yeah. Honestly, I really did. I wanted to slap her so much, and not upside the head. Literally, like old-fashioned, get a glove, whack, right across the face, challenge her to a duel. But and then the conversation that she had with Riker in the turbo lift, and you're in my way.
Well, that's one thing they made some notes on later on, is that like when she's if you can't make the big decisions, make room for someone who can. So towards the end of the first episode, when Riker's just like, you know what, we need to, Picard's on that ship, we need to fire on that ship. And she's like, no, contact Admiral Hansen, get a second opinion. And he's like, no, we don't have time. We got to do it now.
Yeah. And he is able to make those hard decisions, but he doesn't like to. He does like to play it safe. The crew is his family. Over the course of a few years, they did become really close. And like the senior officers especially, but he sees the crew as his family, and him and Picard are like their parents. Guinan is the aunt you can always go to give advice, and so is Deanna, and he doesn't want to put his family in danger, but he still is. Tyson, you're muted if you want to speak. And he wants to protect his family at all costs, but that doesn't take away the fact that he can.
Ow, 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 ow. Look at this.
Oh, she looks directly in my eyes, then I love her. Gentle though.
Is there
speaking of Sage?
Yes, I have a Velocikitty. Is there a way that we can put the StreamYard link in the chat? I tried to do it and it said it failed to post. Maybe because I don't have permission to put a StreamYard link. But if one of you two could put the link right in the comments,
I'm on it.
Dave's on it. I can't anyway.
People watching might be able to join. How?
That'd be nice about the right place.
telling you, who needs leeches when you have a cat? She'll bleed you.
God love her. Honestly, when I had cats, my hands were always torn up because I would play with them. But they didn't like playing with toys. They liked to play with live prey. So I do it with my hands, and all they were all torn up. Honestly,
Yes,
when I get cold, you can actually see the scars come up on my hands.
Me too. Well, you can. I don't have to be cold. You can see the scars all over.
Mine are a few years old though.
I got more of these scars when I tried to give her a bath. That was where I received most of these scars. The second her toe hit the water, she became a cloud of fangs and claws, just cartoon style.
Yeah. Well, I did warn you as soon as you got her. If you are going to put her in the bath, wear a suit of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even that might not protect you. But I don't know what's just made me realize this. I really don't know. But one thing I did notice in the episode, I didn't realize until watching it tonight that the Borg was still using the armrests for regeneration. I thought that they've got past that stage by now. Obviously, I was wrong, but yeah, I made a note of that in my mind because I forgot to write it down. But yeah, I didn't realize that they were still using the armrest doodads to interface.
It was still early Next Generation. They're still flushing out everything, but as time, technology, and budget got bigger and better, it's just the way the Borg evolved as they went along.
Very true, because by the time it came to, excuse me, I'm getting dressed again. By the time it came to, because when did we next see the Borg after this? It was Voyager, wasn't it?
No, we had the Borg pop in a few times. I mean, there's Iborg. Then there's this, of course, Descent in Next Generation.
Oh yeah, because that's when we meet Hugh in it. Yeah, and then there's is it Data Law? Is that the episode? I'm thinking about something else, but there's also the episode. No.
Yeah, the Borg with lore, that's Descent.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry people, I don't do names. I really don't.
I don't either. I love
that's
your
where
shirt.
I come in.
I love the shirt. Loving the shirt. Today's mood, cranky. You've got
today's mood, right, cranky with a touch of psycho.
You hear this? Listen to this. Ow!
She's so there after the both of you.
I heard that.
She's on a warpath today. Look at that. Oh, look at those ears.
Kelly, chill.
No, be nice.
Chill.
Ow. Okay, go.
And that's what you get for tapping a cat on the nose.
Look. See, I'm not even. Where's my camera? Right there.
Hey.
Yeah, she's. She's in a mood.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, we may lose Tyson by the end of the show, but hopefully he will survive the attack from the cat. Yeah.
Bad kitty. Nothing but claws and teeth and.
Playing.
But she's sweet.
Have you clipped her claws?
No, but I think that's the next thing. Should I clip your claws? You sit nice in my lap and we'll see.
I have to get one of those harnesses. The
this is when I walk her. As soon as I pull out her leash, I have to be careful. I pull out her leash. She jumps on the bed and dances around like, "Oh, we're going for a walk. Put the leash on me. I'm excited." I've never seen a cat do that. Most cats see a leash and they run like hell. This cat is like, "Put it on me. I want to go outside." Oh, all right. Hold on.
You've mentioned
somebody is feeling left out.
Aww.
Are you left out?
Hey, Teresa.
You don't make me bleed, do you?
Oh, Cherry!
You don't
No,
make me.
baby.
She said, I'm just too gentle.
Again, this is the technically part of technically track.
Yeah, sorry. You got to go.
But the animals
Doing.
are our extended family, so we always like to include them. Callie forces it upon us.
Callie is 7 of 9 in cat form.
Shit.
I thought she was more Balana.
Maybe a mixture of the two. Because,
Yeah.
you know, she's already on her 7th of her 9th life. And if she keeps it up, it's going to be 8.
She's got Balana's tenacity.
But yeah, we touched base on it a little bit before, like the scene in the engine room where they're talking about creating weapons, and who said, oh, I think it was Jordan saying his mind turns to clay, and then Wesley's like, me too. And there's like these two engineers, non-coms, standing behind Riker, just stand there, it's like doop, doop, doop. And then there's a couple close-ups of Riker, then wide shot again. Where did those two engineers disappear to? As soon as he said dismiss, they're gone. Poof. So
Yeah.
we're done. Okay, bye. That's just
Now,
like,
here's a question for you. At the end of the first episode, where they're
Mhm.
about to fire the main deflector dish, right?
mhm.
That's where it cuts out.
Yeah.
And then on season 2, we find out, or it's not season 2, the next episode, we find out that it was ineffective.
hmm
Now, they said it was ineffective because Picard knew of the plan, and when they assimilated Picard, they knew of the plan and they could counter it, right? If they did not, would that have worked against the Borg if the Borg didn't know about it? Or are the Borg sufficiently advanced that wouldn't have worked anyway?
Well, I think it
I think it was.
had Shelby not gone to Picard, wah, Riker didn't want me to do this. This is what I want to do. And I'm thinking that if she didn't do that, I mean, Shelby even said that even with the weapons that they had, the Borg ship could work if 78% of it was destroyed. Saying it might have done something. I don't know. So it sound like you had a thought on that, Katie?
That's a 3-liter Pepsi, Katie. I want to come over to your house. Jesus.
What was that?
You have a 3-liter Pepsi.
Yeah, I go through about one of these every 2 or 3 days.
Pepsi Max at that. Now,
Oh.
what is it? What do you guys call? Is it 3-liter? Is that
Yeah, 3 liter.
3-liter? Wow.
But no, my thoughts on it are, I think that it would have worked at the very least to slow the Borg down. I don't think it'd have destroyed them, but I do think that it would have caused enough damage to stall them and possibly for the Enterprise to overtake them so that they could join the fleet for defense. But the way it worked out, even though a lot of damage was caused, if they'd have done that, once the Borg had repaired their ship, because once they got so far in repairs, they would have been able to have carried on, even though it would have been at a slower pace. There is a chance that if the deflector dish had done its job and worked, and they overtook them to meet with the fleet, they could have been destroyed as well. And that is why, in the end, I was really glad that it didn't work, because they survived the assault on Wall 359, which, all right, was devastating. So many people died, more were assimilated, but it gave them chance to get Picard. It gave them chance to come up with a plan and eventually put the Borg to sleep and have the ship destroyed.
These 2 episodes set up Deep Space Nine. These 2 episodes right here were literally the setup for DS9, Because how does DS9 start? It starts with the Enterprise, the first episode, the Enterprise visiting DS9, Cisco getting his command, Cisco saying, you killed my wife at Wolf 359.
Yeah.
DS9.
The thing is, what's always annoyed me about people, I mean, I hate people in general, no offense to the audience, and present company accepted, of course, but one thing that has always pissed me off is, yes, Picard was assimilated. He basically, well, no, he didn't give them. The Borg stole his knowledge in order to be successful in that battle at Wolf 359.
They mentally raped him. They did.
Blames Picard. And I do, in a way, I get it. You got to focus your anger on someone, and he was assimilated, he survived, he became human again. But it always annoys me that people have a go at him and say that it's his fault. And he blames himself enough. He remembers everything. He blames himself enough for what he believes was his fault. It wasn't his fault. He was kidnapped. His knowledge was stolen. He was assimilated. He was transformed into a completely new being. And he basically had to sit there in the back of his mind and watch this happen. He was like a passenger in his own body, basically, because the Borg didn't assimilate him fully.
Picard, was it Picard season 3? The captain of the Titan, the one that died? Remember in the bar scene?
Liam Shaw.
Shaw, gave him hell right there at the bar. It's your fault. I was there at Wolf 359. You did. So, here again is another, we're already 20 years later and he's catching hell for it. Still, to your point, Katie.
He was just as much of a victim as everybody else, if not more so, to be quite honest, because at least when people died, they died quickly because the ship's bloody exploded. He was a passenger in. Could you imagine being a passenger in your own body and a collective entity taking over, and you're having to sit there because they didn't assimilate him fully? You're having to sit there and witness with your own eyes that kind of destruction, that level of destruction, and you can do nothing about it. I can't even conceive that. That's just like me being a passenger in my own body and someone else taking over. I have to sit there and watch myself, like with my own hands, kill my loved ones. I can't even conceive that. So what he went through is torture enough. He doesn't need it from other people.
So if he's not blamed for the best of both worlds, right? Which I agree. He was taken, he was assimilated, the knowledge was taken out of his head against his will, etc. But he did have a part in meeting the Borg for the first time as a result of his interaction with Q. Q wanted to join the crew of the Enterprise. He met him on a shuttle. He brought him back to 10 Forward, met Guinan. There was that little standoff, and he said, he wants to be a member of the crew. And they said, we're doing just fine without you. Riker comes in. What justifies this ego that Riker has? He goes, no, not ego. It's, confidence, etc. He goes, you have no idea what awaits you out there. And then flings them to meet the Borg. If that whole situation had been handled differently, had he been more placating or said, well, let's give it a try. Let's see. What can you do? If he hadn't just
dismissed it.
If he hadn't shoved Q's nose in the dirt right that second, rubbed his nose and shit, would Q have flung him out to meet the Borg? Would the Borg have been at Wolf 59? Would any of this have happened? So, in a way, maybe it was Picard's fault. Maybe not Wolf 359, him being abducted and everything, but the events that led up to that may have been his fault.
Very true. But no, I don't know. I'm very.
I'm purposely saying things to piss people off so people want to come on and join and argue with me, but nobody's joining. Like, well, come on to this. Speak with us. Click that link. Join the StreamYards backstage. Dave will bring you on. Be a speaker.
Katie will bring us. Yeah, because what I got going on the scroll right now is that there's this guy. He does some magnificent rendering work with Star Trek, and he actually put together the actual battle per se of Wolf 359. Has Cisco in it, even has a bit with Shaw in it. I mean, and it pieces together a lot of stuff. I mean, it's done just so beautifully, and he's actually working on the next installment of it right now. So, but I will put the StreamYard link down there again.
There's the link. Type that link in. Join us on the chat. I do have to step away. I've got to use the restroom. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna close my camera, but I will be back. So you can either remove me from the stage or just let my little icon be there. But I'll be back shortly.
Okie dokie. As long as you have the microphone off in the process.
No, I've tried.
I'm not going to let you guys listen to me pee, so you're fine.
I've tried posting the link for the live chat in YouTube, but it hasn't gone on.
Huh. That is bizarre. I don't know why it's. Let's see.
But yeah, I thought I'd try posting it in the live chat, but it hasn't gone on. So it wasn't just the first week that we was having technical difficulties. People, we're still having them.
Yeah, I was saying, well, this is like I'm saying with the main show, got Cassie running all the stuff backstage, just saying here it's me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to get to the point where I am going to finally be able to move out of his house, get my own place, so I will have to most likely produce it on my own. So it's all a learning experience.
See, in a way, I kind of agree with that, Marla. It wouldn't surprise me if Q was somehow responsible for it. And your previous comment about the victim blaming, I definitely agree with that. And that's exactly what's happening. But yeah, all of Q's entertainment. Yeah, and it backfired and in some ways came back to bite him in the ass. But no, I mean, there's a lot going on in this episode. Let's get back to it. The conversation between Riker and Jean-Luc in the ready room when he just turns around and when Jean-Luc just turned around and says, "What are you still doing here, Will?" And
ready to work without a net.
And you know it. You could see. I mean, Patrick Stewart is an absolutely amazing actor, and right down to the look in his eyes, he conveys the correct emotion, the right level of it, and I take my hat off to him. But just in those couple of minutes of that scene, you could see that he was doing. Oh, probably Marla. Yeah, Q's on for the drama. I'm surprised they didn't put sombreros and maracas in their hands as well. But just in those few minutes in the ready room between Jean-Luc and Will, it was evident that Picard knew that he had to be a captain, and he was being encouraging, but in every way, it was obvious that he didn't want Will to go. I know that's why I said that, Marla. yes, the bridge dance. Yeah. When that was when he got his Q powers back, I think. But no, it was very emotional for me, that scene, to be quite honest. Not the Q bridge dance with the sombrero and the mariachi band, but the episode Best of Both Worlds. The conversation between Will and Picard in the ready room, because Picard had never admit it, but he relies on Riker so much, and he would be lost without him. And I think it's the same with Riker, and they don't want to split the family up, and that was quite evident there between them both in the ready room, and it was lovely. It really was. But then, been abandoned. My show now. What can we talk about? We'll stick on track. I really should tear that page off. Where was we? Yeah. So that was a very emotional scene for me. And then it went straight to Will and Deanna in the, I nearly said mess hall, but that's Voyager, in 10-4. Yeah. Called him seasoned, and he's just like that.
He's like, oh, don't say that to a man.
Yeah. It's like a horrible thing to say to a man. So this episode really was an emotional roller coaster, because you went from something really emotional like the ready room, and then you went to something really funny, but it was still quite serious, but then it got funny with the seasoned thing. And so it was very that was actually quite a good transition, that. And all the look on Shelby's face. I mean, don't get me wrong, she was being a bit of a bitch, but when they engage the Borg, and she says, "Oh, the mutation's confusing them," and Riker says they have the ability to analyze and adapt, Commander. That look on her face behind his back, that was just. I think if Will had have seen that, there might have been a little bit, but yeah, it was done behind his back, but yeah, just the more she was like involved, the more smug she got, and the more slappable she became, basically.
And during that interaction, made me think, why is she having Data take over the phaser control? Shouldn't she be telling Worf to remodulate the frequencies, not Data?
Data's fast enough to keep up. Worf isn't. That's what that'll be why she went to him. I remember originally thinking this when I very first saw the episode, but having watched it a few times, I came to the realization that she probably went straight to Data because they needed to keep up, and they didn't have time to preset the change in modulation into the computer. So that's probably why she went to Data, because he can do like a million things at once. So he could do his job plus do the random fluctuations.
That is a good explanation. Thank you.
I don't know if I articulated that well, but
no, I think it pretty much the base is that Data can do it faster. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean we've all seen how good he is with his hands, so.
Well, he is programmed with multiple techniques.
I meant with the controlling. You always go there. You always go there. I was trying to be so good. I was trying to be so good. But yeah, my mind went there as well, Dave. I just didn't want to say it. But see, we've got Sammy laughing at us now. But yeah, yes, Tyson can be the Omen. We can set Callie on. We can set Callie on Shelby. Thank you, Marla. No, Callie can be the. She can be a tactical. She's a weapon unto us in her own right.
Give me your weapon. Yeah, you could take on the board, couldn't you? Look at this.
Yeah, shoot Callie out of a torpedo bay. Straight at the poor Q in a little suit.
No
technology. Like a little space suit. It'd be so cute.
I got now. I apologize. This is certainly off topic, but I got something in the mail Monday that I'm really excited about.
Now, while you do that, Mala was saying, "This is a blow pop, not a Tootsie Pop." Mala, so
yeah, that's definitely a blow pop. It's a gum, not Tootsie Roll. So, I don't know. The white light might be too powerful, but this is the
Secretary of State.
What the hell's that?
From the Vatican.
Yes, from the Vatican. I'll read this. Dear Mr. Strasberg, His Holiness Pope Francis has received your letter, and he has asked me to thank you. He appreciates your concern, which prompted you to write him. His Holiness has prayed for the eternal rest of your mother, Rilla, and asked the Almighty God to sustain you with the hope by our faith in the resurrection, invoking upon you consolation and peace in the Lord, that he sends his blessing. So the Pope had said a prayer for my mother's passing. Aww. I thought that was... Now, I'm not Catholic. I'm Protestant. And in this little envelope, he also sent a little rosary with a papal symbol.
Oh, right on.
So I thought that was
beautiful. Do you know what? I'm not Christian in any way, shape, or form. I'm a pagan witch. I'm very proud of my beliefs, but that is so sweet. I love Francis. His Holiness Pope Francis. I absolutely love him. He is just... No, it isn't Sammy. But he is just lovely, and I really do. He's like the first Pope I've ever liked.
Me too. First Pope I've ever liked. Again, I'm a Protestant. I'm not even a Catholic. But there was something about him. You know, I've watched him ever since Benedict was... Never liked Benedict. I'm just gonna... I mean, John Paul II was all right. Benedict didn't care for him. Probably shouldn't be saying that, because I know we have a lot of Catholics out there. But he just wasn't my Pope, you know. Pope Francis, a Jesuit Pope, really sweet, really kind, really good to our community and other communities. And I think he's been very healing. And so, you know, I was in my emotions when Mom had passed away. So I figured I'd write the Pope. Now, I'm sure he gets 1 billion letters a day, right? He's the Pope. But, you know, and it was written by a Monsignor. It wasn't written by the Pope himself. But it said the Pope did receive the letter, and the Pope did pray for my mom and spelled out my mother's name, you know. So if indeed that happened, if the Pope said a prayer for my mother, then that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Happy.
And Your Holiness Pope Francis, if you're watching, Tyson says thank you in person.
Yes. Pope Francis, I'm sure, watches this show regularly.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's a secret tracking.
So thank you to the Pope. It was very, very kind.
Yeah, but going back with the episode when Data's shooting at the Borg vessel and the Borg uses its cutting beam. I mean, for it to cut all the way into engineering, A, engineering looked fine, and B, there was no damage to the ship later in the episode. Just like, where did the cutting beam disappear to?
Oh yeah, that's because they reused the scene.
Yeah.
They reused the exact scene, and I even went back and looked, and the stars are in the exact same position in both scenes. And it's quite evident. Now, I'm unsure if I know that there's a couple of other scenes in it. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I forgot to write them down. But I noticed these things, especially in earlier Trek. But there is another couple of questionable reuse scenes. The saucer set, that is definitely a reused scene.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they reused.
Yeah, same angle, same everything. If you take the saucer set scene from Best of Both Worlds, and
that was the last time it was ever used.
No, one before it. What the hell is the pilot episode called of next year?
Farpoint?
Yeah, Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
ILM did the original. ILM did the original ship, and then by season 3, they got another company to do the ship. 10 forward, like they said, the windows don't line up in 10 forward as it did in the ILM model. And so they ended up doing a whole new model. And then, funny enough, come Star Trek Generations, ILM went back and made a whole new ship again. So there's been 3. There's been the ILM, the one they did after season 3, and then ILM back for the movie.
Which part of the Sepper was the same shots from Best of Both Worlds too.
Yeah.
And Star Trek 6 and Star Trek 7 both have the Klingon bird of prey, same explosion.
Oh yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah. I block all those out from my memory. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to anybody watching, but TOS very rarely gets mentioned in my presence because of how strong I feel.
Well, I've got a question for you, Katie. I know you don't like the TV show. I got that. But what do you think of the TOS movies, though? Like Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock, all the movies.
The premise is good. The storyline itself is good. But Shatner spoils it for me. I'm sorry, but it just the whole executing that right. And I know that you and Travis really disagree with me on this, and you've both been like, oh, it's the 60s, that's how it was. No, it wasn't. Yes, there was a little bit of overacting back then. I don't know if this is
with Shatner, it was a lot of overacting. That was his whole...
But no, it wasn't just him. He was the arrogant, oh, look at me, I'm the star kind of overactor. And that, but just the whole execution of TOS, including the movies, for me, I've never seen acting like that in my entire existence. And I've seen stuff from the 40s, like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like all of it. And I've never seen acting done like that before, especially from him. Now, Leonard Nimoy, he was not as bad. He was actually quite on point, and that's the only reason I could ever stand watching it. But for me, it was just the whole execution of TOS, whether it be series or movies, it was overly much. And if they'd have toned it down and allowed this, because for me, the overacting took over the story because it was so in your face. You couldn't concentrate on the story. I mean, I've read the synopsis for each episode of TOS, all the movies. I love it. Watching it, no.
So had it been executed different, maybe had different actors, even regardless of the 60s, sets, you could have liked it under the right circumstances.
by reading the synopses of each episode and the movies, everybody talking about it, I love it. But I mean, I don't even care about the crap special effects, to be quite honest. I really don't, because that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the execution of it. And everything was so contradictory. So if, say, like if Strange New Worlds decides to carry on, like beyond Christopher Pike, and goes into basically rewriting TOS, I would be very, like, sticking with the same stories and maybe a few new ones in between. But I think that because of the lack of overacting and like the level of acting that there is now, things have calmed down a lot. And unless it's like, you know, that big scene from Jean-Luc when he's you know, like, it's better to have loved than lost than never to have loved at all, and it is like going full Shakespeare. Was it at the Waxana?
Yeah,
Menage a Troy. Menage a Troy.
Yeah.
Menage a Troy. He's trying to get the wax in the back. Yeah. That was purposefully overacting.
Yes, that. But that was the kind of stupid overacting throughout TOS. And it was like everything was exaggerated and it wasn't natural. Whereas now, things are a lot calmer, things are a lot more. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still some actors I don't like, but I mean, I don't even really like watching the movie Generations that often because William Shatner's in it. I don't mind the others. I really don't mind the others, but William Shatner, you can just see that he is being told, you need to cut it out. You need to actually become an actor and act. Pretend that you're not an asshole.
I think of the monster movie posters from the 50s and the 60s where in the poster you see some kind of creature and then you see a scantily clad thin woman doing the whole you know, as if that's what we're just gonna pass out. The hell, women are, you know, they're gonna fight or flight. They're not gonna do the whole you know, that was the kind of era that it was in. You're right, you know, there was a little bit of Ed Woodishness to it. But here's where I will give it credit. It was so different from the Buck Rogers and all the silly sci-fi back. I mean, it tried to be a serious sci-fi, and it got enough of a following that it was able to make motion pictures. And those led to the Next Generation, which led to Deep Space Nine, which led to Voyager, which led to Enterprise, which led to Discovery, etc. You know, and so we have this beautiful Star Trek universe that started from that seed.
Even though I can't stand watching it, I do have a deep respect for TOS, and I do have a deep appreciation for it because it was the birth of a legacy, and it broke so many barriers, you know,
including the light barrier.
Well, yeah, exactly, you know, so like just the combination of individuals on the bridge of the Enterprise, for example, that was huge back then, you know. Gene Roddenberry, he did create a legacy, and I do have a deep respect and appreciation for TOS. I'm not saying that I don't. I just cannot stand the execution of it, and William Shatner is a knobhead.
Well, it started, his first pilot didn't have Shatner, and his first pilot, The Cage, was very cerebral, very. I'm just saying, the cage had a female first officer, and the executives wouldn't take it. They said, "No, who's going to believe a woman first officer? That's bullshit." You know, this is the 60s, and so they made him go back and recast and redo. So they had to have, I guess, the first officer was a Vulcan now instead of a woman. It had William Shatner. It had, you know, but they started with something that was quite different, but they wanted him to change it. and he ultimately, had to make changes he didn't want. Now, if he'd have been given a budget and given, more access to control what Star Trek was, it's hard to say if it would have been better or worse. I don't know. Because Roddenberry got a little loopy at the end.
Yeah, but it was the birth. Like I said, it was the birth of a legacy, and it was what it was. It started how it started, and it evolved how it did, and I'm glad it did. I mean, the episode we're discussing today is all about the Borg, and it is the Borg that made me fall in love with Star Trek. The first ever thing that I liked was Star Trek First Contact. That holds a big place in my heart. It is what that movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, it made my homework late for school, but I didn't even realize it was Star Trek because I'd only ever seen the TOS uniforms. I'd never heard of Next Generation or anything because I was like this with Star Trek, and I was just like, no, it's evil incarnate, it's like an insult to sci-fi. And then I saw the Borg, that like opening scene of Star Trek First Contact. I saw that and I'm just like, wow. And I carried on watching it and I saw the Borg and the whole execution of it. And I'm just like, I have got to know what this is. And then I found out it was Star Trek and I'm like, oh, really? I might like this. And that I went back and I started watching Next Gen and I loved it. And I mean, to this day, I always watch, regardless of how many times I watch it during the year, I always watch First Contact on my birthday. Because my birthday is First Contact Day. So I always watch that movie on my birthday, regardless of what I'm doing. I make sure I'm at home for my birthday.
Yeah.
So that I can watch it.
I love First Contact, and that is related to the two shows we're talking about today. I love First Contact. I thought it was a great movie. Then again, I liked Insurrection, yeah, which is not.
I love that.
I love Insurrection. With Data popping out of the haystack. I thought that was great. And in fact, I probably like that better than Nemesis, where more people like Nemesis better than Insurrection. I liked Insurrection better. But, the great thing about Star Trek is that it has all these completely different, unrelated genres. There are people who love Lower Decks. These are the people who watch Family Guy, American Dad, Rick and Morty. They watch this anime, kind of adult, funny, and so Star Trek Lower Decks totally speaks to them, and they won't watch anything else Star Trek, but they love that. You've got the little kids that love Star Trek, the Nickelodeon, Star Trek Prodigy. You've got people. My mother was a huge fan of DS9. She was also a huge fan of the original series, but she loved DS9. She felt it was a lot more intelligently written, and there's not a starship exploring. It's not a, you're having events come to you instead of you going to events. She loved that. But every, no matter who you are, no matter what your likes, whether it's this, horror, sci-fi, comedy, whatever, there is a Star Trek somewhere out there for you. And there's maybe a Star Trek that you don't like TOS or whatever, like Lower Deck. But for everybody out there, there is a Star Trek that you will like if you were to watch all the different Star Treks out there. You're going to find one that you're going to like. And for some of us, it's multiple Star Treks that we like. I love Voyager. The only reason we're talking here is because of Voyager, because of Icheb, because of Manu, because of, we could reverse engineer, how we came to be right here and being friends and everything. It comes down to Manu. And what happened with me was when I saw Picard and I saw Icheb die, I thought, God, the actor Icheb, he looks so different. Like, he got curly hair all of a sudden, but then again, so does Shatner. So, it happens to get older. I just didn't know. And so I had to look it up. I'm like, And I'm like, oh, these are two different actors. Well, who was the original? Because I used to have the hots for the original, Manu and Taremi. So I researched and I found that, he had a Twitter and I followed him, and then one thing led to another, and here we are. But all of that's sparked. It all started when Icheb's character died. So in a way, Voyager kind of brought us all together. This is why we have Dangerous Thoughts. This is why
Voyager's always been my favorite series. It's always been my favorite series.
Me too. Voyager's my favorite. I love the female captain. I love the premise of being away from Starfleet, so she has to be, any Starfleet captain has to think on their feet, but they have the benefit of never being too far from the fleet, right? She's on her own. And talk about a strong woman character. I mean, to not only, be in charge of a ship, but to be in charge of a ship in a completely alien part of the galaxy where you have no backup, where you're constantly under threat. And, there may have been one or two times she zigged when she should have zagged, but other than that, what a brilliant character. What a strong female lead. And there are so many women out there that have said, Kate Mulgrew's portrayal of Janeway really gave them a strong female leadership figure to emulate, to model, to, I want to be like Captain Janeway, which I think is beautiful. I love that.
Well, yeah, because they've never had that before. I mean, all right, yeah, I'm a woman, of course I'm going to like a female captain, but it was more than that. Yes, she was a bit self-righteous, but in my opinion, again, only my opinion, she was nowhere near as self-righteous as Cisco.
Right.
Cisco carried
and
that
way
on.
not as much self-righteous as Kirk, right? That's self-righteous
exactly.
a little bit.
But, it's she loosened up in time. Yes, she still held on to her principles. She was still very forthright, and but she evolved. Her character evolved. Cisco's character didn't evolve.
Well, not only his character evolved, he evolved. So.
But maybe he evolved in the wrong direction, though. She softened. That's something that Kate Mulgrew, her character, Catherine Janeway, softened, as the years went on. And when I say softened, I don't mean that she wasn't still a badass. She was. But she was less militant and more...
Well, yeah, she relaxed a bit more. She became a little bit more laid back. But Picard did. He was very, strict at the beginning. That's what I always remember about starting to watch TNG. He was very strict. But even though, he still wasn't good with kids, he did loosen up in time. His character evolved. I mean, the incident with him being assimilated, that changed him, but he didn't allow it to affect his job. And how he did that, I don't know.
Well, the episode that follows this is where he goes back home and he's there with his brother and his nephew. What's his name? The nephew?
Renee.
Which I always thought was a girl's name, but apparently not.
Nope. Originally a boy's name. It's French.
Well, Odo was also a Renee. And then you see a lot of that frustration come out, right? You see the fight with the brother.
He breaks down.
But I think he needed that moment, right? He needed that come to Jesus with his brother. They fought it out. They laughed, and they ended on good terms, right? But that needed to happen, and I think that had a profound impact on the captain, which was the very next episode, right? After Best of Both Worlds?
Yep.
But this is what I like when I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like another conversation for later on in the show. This is like the conversation that I was on about. Is the reason why, you see, I think as well it's more emotional me watching the end of Best of Both Worlds now, because I know what happens in the next episode. I also know what happens in First Contact as well. He carries this throughout his whole life, and he's been blamed for all the atrocities of the Borg for Wolf 359, but he doesn't let it affect his job. And even in First Contact, when he knows he's going to be face to face with them, all right, yeah, it goes a little bit off, it goes a little bit quiet, but that's because he can still hear them. That is all explained in Series 3 of Picard, people. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. If not, spoilers, plug your ears. But, you know, that's all explained in Picard. You know, it's not... was it aromatic syndrome? It wasn't that. It was the Borg thing. They put that in his brain. And, you know, that's why he could hear them in First Contact, you know. And he's gone through all of this. And even in season 3 of Picard, he is still being blamed, you know. And it's just not on. It isn't. But he is still himself, you know. And I mean, the way that he breaks down and blows up in that conference room scene in Star Trek First Contact, and he breaks the little ships, you know, and right. says that beautiful quote from Moby Dick, you know, that even though we, like in the episode directly following Best of Both Worlds, when he goes back to the vineyard, even though he had a breakdown there, that was mild compared to what happened in First Contact. It wasn't until I saw First Contact, well, I saw First Contact first, then I saw the series, but after seeing his like explosion of feeling towards Lily in First Contact, and then seeing how he was on the vineyard with his brother, the vineyard was nothing compared to that. And how he carried that for all those years while still being blamed, still not being able to get his head around it, you know. And I think that's why watching these episodes are so much more emotional for me, because I know the future. And it's, I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit, yes, I was sobbing as the second part of the episode went off. I was. And that single tear running down Picard's face when you see him laid out on the table on the Borg cube, I cried, because he really was that scene with that one tear that showed you that he was still in there, and that Locutus had taken over, but he was an observer. He was like a passenger in the back seat, and that broke my heart. It really did.
No, it's funny you mention that, because Ron Jones, by the way, superb job with both the episodes, doing the score for it, especially when the dun dun dun, when Riker ordered Worf to fire on the Borg ship. But that scene you're talking about, he called that humanity lost.
Yeah.
I do apologize. It's coming up on 7:45 local time here, Pacific, and I have an 8 o'clock net I have to jump on, and I've got to get completely ready for that. But it's been an hour and almost 45 minutes.
Yeah.
What a fantastic show.
Yeah, we still got part 2 to talk about.
I know. I'm going to go back and watch this on YouTube later tonight or tomorrow. But you guys have a great night.
You too, Tyson. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
But there's like that one scene when they were hiding in the nebula, and it's saying this is one thing that's always like bugged me for like for forever, is that when they went into the nebula to hide from the Borg, and the Borg start shooting those charges to kind of flush them out. Why didn't the Enterprise just go out the other side of the nebula instead of doubling back?
With the charges that you see, I've thought about this, and my theory is where they were in the nebula, because of the charges that were going off around them,
Mm-hmm.
they were rather it'd have been rather, they'd have had to go deeper before they got out the other side, or they had no choice but to double back because the charges were so concentrated where they were, and that was the only way they could. That's how I work it out in my head anyway.
Okay, well that kind of leads into why isn't he ordering the aft photons to fire at the Borg ship as they're exiting the nebula instead of the forward?
Yeah, I thought that as well. I mean, it could be explained away. I spend too much time thinking about these things. But when he said about readying the forward photons, as they were basically approaching the cube in order to pass it, if the cube would have fired upon them, they would have needed to defend themselves. So the first and foremost, they needed to arm the forward ones before aft. That's how it could be explained away. It's a loose explanation. It's a bit of a new explanation, but it does make sense. If you're having to pass your enemy in order to escape, you're gonna want forward weapons active and ready for that. That passing, because if you're fired upon and you don't have them ready, you're screwed.
Love to hear other people thinking about it. Because like I said, we got 8 open slots to talk, and they're all empty right now. But moving on to part 2, this is something I've thought for years. Which, because I mean, as you know, like Patrick Stewart's been interviewed about that summer after the season 3 finale, that one fan screaming at him, "You've ruined my summer," with that cliffhanger. And saying that the producers should have done a real mindfuck on it and had Riker do the space the final frontier at the start of the episode to make it look like that Picard wasn't coming back. I think that would have really like with a lot of fans of the show.
That'd have been really good. And I actually wish they had done, because that would have, like, there again, I think that maybe if that happened, people, maybe they didn't, maybe they already had thoughts on that, but maybe they didn't because they were worried that people wouldn't come back.
Yeah. And just to add to it, just like credit Patrick Stewart as Locutus of Borg instead of Captain Picard, but they did that.
What was that? Sorry.
Well, they should have put, like, instead of Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard, it's like Patrick Stewart as Locutus of Borg.
Oh yeah, but could you imagine? Everybody's been waiting for like the second part of
3 months
of the story, and it comes on, and Will Riker is doing the space final frontier thing. And then it comes on as Patrick Stewart as Locutus of Borg, and it's just like, now having those two together, I think that would have been a lot of deaths in the audience. I think people would have had a heart attack. I know I would.
Well, like I said, that season 5 episode, Cause and Effect, Enterprise blows up in the opening seconds of the episode. I didn't see the teaser, So I probably screamed when that happened. My mom
And you
was
know
in the
what?
kitchen and thought someone died.
I can still remember my initial reaction to that. And everyone was really shocked when I told them this reaction. It came on, that cause and effect. It
Mhm.
came on, the Enterprise blew up, and I'm just like, so is time going to reverse, or is it a dream? That was literally my reaction.
Hmm.
And everyone was like, when I've told people this, they're just like, really? And I'm like, well,
Sorry.
yeah, you know, and especially because I watched all the episodes once they were out, I knew that there was more Next Generation. So it, yeah, it just made sense to me. So I didn't freak out like a lot of people did, but I can understand why people did when it first aired, even though it was more of a series. I don't understand. I really don't.
Hmm.
It's weird.
But
I'm in a very weird mood today. I do apologize.
yeah, and I noticed a big little script screw up when everyone was in the conference room and they were talking to Hanson on subspace, and Shelby is like calling out just like in the by fighting the Borg ship, they're fighting Picard, and Picard knows everything, and Hanson's like, oh no, he wouldn't do that, but he referred to Shelby as a lieutenant instead of a commander or a lieutenant commander for that example. Because like it's common practice, a lieutenant commander is always referred to as a commander in shorthand. But I mean, it's happened a few times in Trek. This is one of the big ones.
Yeah, I thought I was hearing things with that. So I'm glad that wasn't just me. But also I noticed, because by the end of the episode, am I right in thinking that Shelby did get a promotion to full blown commander?
Yes, by Riker.
Yeah,
who got
right. So that would explain why she had the 3 pips.
Mm-hmm.
But Riker still had 4, the same as Picard.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought that because he was back and he was in command, that extra pip would have come off.
Well, he got a field promotion to captain by Hanson, but like the next episode, bam, that pip was gone. So did Hanson forget to send in the paper and say, "Oh yeah, I bumped up Riker to captain"?
No, what I'm on about is at the very end of the episode, after they say goodbye to Shelby, Captain Picard is back on duty, but Will has still got the 4 pips, which is wrong. That was a wardrobe malfunction, I think. Because if the captain's back, yes, he got the field promotion. So yeah, I mean, I didn't even notice when the 4 pips came in, but I did notice that was wrong, because with Jean-Luc being back on active duty,
which he got back
that extra pip.
Yeah, and Picard went back to active duty way too quick, in my opinion. Which I mean, of course, 6 weeks in dry dock. I mean, yeah, but I mean, he's like back in the right room. Nothing's happened. Everything's normal. He's got the little plaster, whatever things all over his face to kind of mend the wounds from his implants.
Sorry, I've just seen a comment from Marla. I have actually been thinking that since I heard his name. There is a chance. Yes. Could be somewhere down the family line.
Well, he's old enough to be her grandpa. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I thought that as soon as I heard the name Hanson, I was just like, ooh, Annika. You know, I don't know if it's written in anywhere, but that is a very good point. Thank you, Marla. I didn't actually want to mention that because I thought I was like, you know, being a bit overly much, but I do apologize for the yawning. It's like nearly 4 a.m. here. And I can't get more coffee, so I'm having to rely on this for the caffeine. But no, I've thought that like all through the episode when I was
no. Yeah, see, I just did some looking. It's he is Hansun. Well, 7 is Hansen, so Sonsen.
Well,
So,
there
yeah,
you go, then, Mama.
not related.
Oh, that'd have been so good.
Yeah, it's a good catch. I didn't even pick up on it.
But oh yeah, I think Hugo might appreciate this. So Hugo, if you're watching, I'm saying this on possibly your behalf as well. Seeing as me and Hugo tend to like bitch about outfits and things like that, I've got 2 points. First of all, the way that Beverly had her hair, the bangs need to go. You know, she looked gorgeous with bangs. She looks gorgeous without, but that style of hair with the big flip over, a bit much. And also, I didn't count it because it had just been too tedious. But the one thing that I loved about Shelby was her uniform. I could not stand any of the next gen. Well, the movies, that's different, but I can't stand any of the uniforms in TNG. I mean, you've got the first few, like, what is it, like 2.5 seasons or something, or is it just 2 full seasons where they've got those like really tight ski suits where they can't move?
The first 2 seasons,
and then the uniforms that they change to, they're constantly pulling them down, and it's like, it's a bit much. That's why I prefer the Voyager uniforms, because they don't have that. And like the uniform that Shelby wore, it was kind of like the ski suit one, but it wasn't half as tight. But yeah, just there's 2 bitchy things about all that, like wardrobe and that, like hair and wardrobe, because literally every time, I think the only person who doesn't do it is Data. I think Data is the only person that doesn't do it, and that must have taken a hell of a lot of control on Brent Spiner's part. But Picard does it. I've seen Geordi do it. I've even seen Worf do it on occasion. But he's nameless, so it doesn't often happen to him.
Yeah, and Riker's done it quite a bit too.
Oh yeah, this is what I mean. All of them do it. You know, like I said, even Worf on occasion, but he does it. He doesn't do it as often as the other characters, because he's stood up a lot, so it doesn't ride up. But Data, I think I know that he has done it, but even rarer than Worf. He gets up, he walks away. You know, he doesn't get up and then spend forever and a day straightening himself up, you know. So yeah, that bothered me. So I thought I'd just get that out there. If anybody else has got a problem with the uniforms, please let us know. But yeah, I much prefer the Voyager uniforms. They're a lot nicer.
Just trying to see if I can find something on Google about it. I'm not.
About what?
About Data tugging his uniform.
No, and also, little fun fact, correct me if I am wrong, but as far as I'm aware, the only time that we see Data use his phaser with his right hand is actually in First Contact. And it's only once, because Brent Spiner is left-handed.
Yeah.
Data always uses his phaser in his left hand.
Yeah, you know, I I'll have to watch it here again, either just fast forward through it. I think he did shoot right-handed in this episode.
No, we didn't. Not that I saw. Like I say, correct me, please, if I am wrong. But as far as I am aware, the first time that he ever used his phaser right-handed was in First Contact, and I can even tell you the scene. I can't tell you the
Oh, in
minutes,
First Contact yet.
but
Yeah.
it's basically just before he's taken. In First Contact, before Data's taken, it's literally just before that. That he uses his phaser with his right hand. And not his phaser rifle, his hand phaser thingy. But yeah, I don't ever, apart from in First Contact, I don't remember ever seeing Data use it with his right hand. Even though he has it on the same side as everybody else, he has it on his left hip, so it should be easy to just do that. He always uses his left hand, so he should wear it on his other side.
Oh, yeah, no, yes. I'm silently watching the end of part 1 right now. Yeah, Shelby's left-handed too with her phaser.
But no, as far as I'm aware, it is in First Contact that only that he uses his phaser with his right hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm aware, Brent Spiner is actually left-handed.
I remember reading about that, saying so. I always try and catch that sort of stuff. I swear I thought I saw him with the right hand. But yeah, so this episode, Barkley was name dropped, so I thought that was cool.
Yes, I did like that. I'm actually quite gutted that he wasn't in it.
Yeah, so probably the actor wasn't available or something would be my guess.
Yeah, I am still really gutted though, because I love Reg, I really do. He is just a sweetheart. He really is.
But when Guinan went up to the ready room to talk to Riker, Riker's all apprehensive, just sitting in the captain's desk, and Guinan just waltzes right in. Bloop! She's just right there. She's like cool, calm, calculated. But I mean, you got to think even though they didn't know at the time, saying Guinan knew that Picard was going to survive because the Times Arrow, the events in Times Arrow, saying that, do you remember how we met? You don't think so, sure. If you don't go on this mission, we'll never meet. So she knew, even though she didn't know at the time, she knew that Picard was going to survive this attack, this kidnapping.
I like what she says to Will in the ready room, and also not just what she said about that he had to let Picard go, but what she said, when a man is convinced he's going to die tomorrow, he'll probably find a way to make it happen. And that is so on point. I really did like that. I love Guinan. I love her talks. The scene with her and Picard in, still keep wanting to call it the mess hall. 10 forward, was just beautiful. And I always look forward to her being in an episode because she gives good advice and she's very wise.
And the one quote that she said, that she mentioned, the Riker, the one that I've used a lot, and I use it to refer to my my BFF out in Buffalo, and it's just like our relationship. It goes beyond friendship, beyond family.
Yeah, I love that. Um, I love the relationship between her and Jean Luc. I really do. Because it's a special thing. When you can find something that special, you hold on to it. But she was right. You know, in order to move forward, you have to let go. Yeah, it would have been easier in a way if Jean-Luc could have died, but the fact that there was still a chance of saving him, yeah, it did make it harder for Riker, but you know, there was still a good chance going by their plan of action before he came up with his brilliant plan to rescue Jean-Luc. Yeah, in order to move on, you have to let go. In order to do his job, there could only be one captain. And, you know, it's hard. I mean, just in life in general, letting go is hard, but it's needed and it's healthy. And this is one thing I love about Star Trek is that they always just the conversations that are had, the things that are touched on, subjects and things, it hits home, and the advice that can and the life lessons sort of thing that you can take from certain episodes of Trek are just beautiful and very, you know, on point. So yeah, that's one thing I love about Guinan. She's always on point with things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the only way to beat him, the only way to save him. And I got like a little squiggly little.
Yeah.
Only way to save him. But when I just want to know really like how long that battle at Wolf 359 happened because I mean it took like 8 to 12 hours for the Enterprise to get up and running again, and then they had to boogie on to Wolf 359, and they were able to catch up to the cube after the battle. So I'm just like, wow, that must have gone for like several hours. But I think it just goes back to that goes back to this YouTube channel where he created his own version of the battle.
The Admiral he contacted them as they engaged, like literally just after the Borg were engaged, and they were only a couple of hours behind after that. After that phone call, we'll say, because I can't think of the right word.
Subspace communication.
That's the one.
Phone call.
Thank you. That's why you're the Admiral and I'm the Captain. But I think I should be demoted to ensign. But no, they were only a few hours behind. So, although one thing that does annoy me, it was said that there were 40 Federation vessels and that the Klingons were joining them. I saw not one single Klingon ship corpse. I can't think of the right word, so I'm just
Well, you're right. There's no Klingon debris. That's a good point.
That's the one. Debris. Thank you. I said the word at the beginning of the show as well. But yeah, I think my brain is struggling to brain right now. I'm struggling to brain and form words. But no, I did not see one dead bird of prey. I didn't. It was all Starfleet vessels, and
Yeah. Even a Constitution class, a Constitution refit was in the debris.
exactly. So where were the Klingons? Did they scurry off with their tail between their legs, or did they just not turn up? Did they think, eh?
This is Federation's mess. Let them deal with it.
Yeah, or did they have lack of honor, and did they retreat from battle because they're just like, screw this, they can deal with it, and just like prance off? It was one of two things, because if the Klingons would have engaged the Borg with the Federation, there would have been corpses of ships or debris, as Dave says.
I mean, it wasn't specified where Karak was assimilated, but considering the fact that there were other Wolf 359 people in Unimatrix Zero, you got to think that Karak might have been one of those Klingons. So just for whatever reason, budgetary, it would be probably my best guess, is they didn't want to bang up a bunch of Klingon ship models for the graveyard.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say it was when they arrived at Wolf 359, the entire scene, the slight background music with the score, it really was like they were going through a graveyard. And it was like they were creeping through it. And yeah, it was. I've got goosebumples on my arms just talking about it. But yeah, it was quite a moment, shall we say?
And say we got 20 people watching right now, and no one wants to talk besides us. That's your prerogative, but I just love to hear some other people's opinions other than our own. But we got to see the battle bridge completely redesigned. That was pretty tight.
Yes.
But I could not see any turbo lift doors.
What was that?
I couldn't see any turbo lift doors.
I didn't look for a turbo lift. In all honesty, I was just more like, oh, the battle bridge, how I've missed you, because I love the battle bridge. That's like one of my favorite places on the Enterprise. But no, I did like the battle bridge scene. I think it was done really well. Oh, that Gleason, I recognize him. And I can't think from where, from like who he is, but I recognize him so much. But yeah, there's yeah, I've mentioned the pips. I've mentioned the reuse of the scenes. I've only got two more notes down on here, and that is the confusing pronouns that Locutus/Picard is using when they revive him in sickbay.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it was early days with the Borg, but come on. And also, because yeah, 1 minute he was saying us, and then he was saying I, and then he was saying we, and then he was saying they, while I stay here, and it's just like it was all very confusing, because he was using so many different pronouns when it should have been us and they, because that is the Borg, or this drone. It should have been this drone speaks for the Borg, not I speak for the Borg. And then us and well, yeah, that's basically it, us. But no, the only other thing that I've got to really comment on, unless you bring anything else up, is do you know when Data is in his lab with Locutus / Picard,
yeah,
and he's making the connections, and once he's got that third connection, it's just like processing, and it does the close up to his head.
Yeah.
I noticed that the makeup on his ears was really patchy.
Huh. That was
Yeah,
not
just
what I was.
look
That's not what I was expecting. I'll have to look again.
Just here and literally round about here on his ear, you can see just a pink bit there, and all around it, it's a little patchy. It's actually less patchy on the inside of the ear than it is around the tip. But yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. But one thing I noticed is like on the bridge, I mean, got red alert klaxons flashing and everything. You'd think that they'd be flashing inside the lab as well, and they weren't.
There's a reason for that. Now, if you know, first of all, Data knew they'd be going to red alert. Second, people could have called through. But if he was doing anything in that lab, because we don't know exactly what Data does in there. We know little bits, but we don't know everything. He's very protective of his lab, you know, because he's got no emotion and all. But if he's doing something extremely intricate and he is disturbed by somebody just walking in or the thing just suddenly going off, mainly if anybody else is working with him that doesn't have his control, accidents could happen. So that is probably why. And they needed complete privacy to do what they needed to do. So it could have just been turned off also.
Yeah, but you're saying Data with no emotion when Locutus woke up after he made access to that third neural link, when Locutus just snapped his head and stared at Data. Data's like, it's like, did Data just experience mild shock there for being emotionless? What the heck?
Yeah, I noticed that. But there's all these little things with Data that's built up over the years. I noticed it the first ever time I watched. And I mean, I didn't discover Next Gen until after First Contact and Insurrection, because they were played back to back. And I was like 13 when I discovered it. So that was like what, 2000, somewhere around there. No, yeah, about 2000. But yeah, they just all these little things with Data that build up over the years. I've always said that he was naturally developing emotion of some form. And when I realized that he had a cat, you know, the first thing that I said, apart from, oh my God, I want to snuggle that pud, like, you know, that's literally the first thing that I said when I first ever saw Spot. But the next thing I said was, yeah, he's definitely getting emotion. And it's only going to get more because of the pud. And then everything I've been ranting on about Data all through the years, even when we was only just a little tiny space over on Twitter, I have been saying that. When it was confirmed, spoiler alert for Picard season 3, when it was confirmed by Data himself in Picard, for the first time in my life, I was going around everyone telling them I told you so. All the people that didn't believe me and that it was just bad acting, I was just like, no, it was just confirmed in Picard. So, But no, that's all my notes I've got.
Well, I got a few more. Say like getting there towards the end, the big climax is Data's trying to break through the sleep protocol, and
Yeah.
and Riker's like, "Your final report, Mister Data." He's like, "Stand by." He's like, "I can't."
Stand by. Stand by. Stand by.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like the music just crescendos, it's just like do 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 do.
Yeah.
And
I did like
I mean, and of course, Shelby had that little smirk again after Riker says, "Go over there, confirm they've been put to sleep," and she's like,
Yes.
"Delight," and she's like, but also kind of a cringe moment is that when Worf is just saying that his tricorder readings are fluctuating rapidly, then Shelby immediately just jumped to the conclusion that the power net was feeding back on itself. So they're looking at a self destruct caused by the error. How did you get that from my tricorders fluctuating?
I don't know because I can't remember the exact words that we used.
No, I wrote them down. I paused, I rewound, I just make sure that I'm writing it, reading it, and hearing it right. So tricorder readings are fluctuating rapidly. The power net
Did
is
she in any
feeding back on.
way look at the tricorder readings?
Hmm?
Did she in any way look at the readings herself? Because I can't remember.
I don't think so. She just immediately went for her communicator and just reported that they're looking at self destruct. But when the
I
Borg
can't
ship,
even watch the episode myself because it's on my PC that I am on. So
but where was the Earth when the Borg ship exploded? It was like right in the middle of outer space when it was hovering in orbit of Earth. I'm just like, I thought that was just a. And when they remastered it, you would have thought that they could put the Earth back in there, but they didn't.
well, no, it was just a different camera angle.
Yeah. But I mean,
Like
if the Enterprise, maybe if the Enterprise is flying away to get away from the explosion, you'd think Borg ship Earth. Well, yeah. See,
Well, no, because it could have been Earth, Borg ship, Enterprise, and they're just going that way, like towards the other side of the Earth.
Yeah, that's a plausible explanation, but I think it still would have been cool to have Earth in the background.
It would have done.
Kind of like have an ID4 moment with like the debris from the ship raining down on the Earth and burning up in the atmosphere and all that.
Definitely. Yeah, it would have been. It would have been a lot better with Earth in the background, but that's how I kind of see it, is that it was like shot from the angle of Earth.
Yeah, but right there at the end is a Shell. Dang it! Before Shelby, dang it! Before Shelby left the Enterprise, she spoke to Riker saying that she hopes she has the pleasure of serving with him again, which in a sense she kind of did in the beta canon novel Vendetta by Peter David, where she ended up getting her own command, and I remember her captain. They're just thinking, how the hell did Picard beat these Borg? But
yeah, I've not read any of the novels, so I don't know about.
Well, Vendetta is a Peter David novel, so if you read any novels, any of the ones that he wrote, must read. Especially Killing Law.
I don't really like beta canon because it just gives me too much hope. I like just sticking with canon, and then I know what's what. Whereas when I throw beta canon into the mix, it's like I need this. I need this in like full canon lore, and so no, I honestly don't think that I would, unless it's like proved to be canon. I don't think I would read any of the novels, and I don't do graphic novels.
I guess that's where you and I differ. But yeah, most of my novel collection's still in storage in Seattle, so hopefully I'll be able to get all those eventually, someday, soon ish.
Yeah, very hopefully. I would love to see your collection.
I see. I got a small smattering of them up there, but even the ones that I purchased, see, I'm not haven't had time to read them. So,
I literally have one Star Trek book, and that is a graphic novel that I got out of a mystery box.
Hmm.
That is literally all I've got for like Trek books, unless you want to count Patrick Stewart's memoir.
Well, that
But,
kind of counts.
well, yeah, make it so. I haven't read it yet, unfortunately. But no, other than that, I don't have anything Trek. And so yeah, I'm a bad Trekkie. I don't have any. I literally I have a pin badge, which is the demi one.
See, I have
Got a pin badge
several,
in that.
including this one, which I mean,
Oh no,
it's the Bluetooth one.
no, I want a communicator. I want a communications badge. I really do, but I want the Voyager one. I really do love the Voyager one. All I've got is like a Pride pin badge. But yeah, that's literally all I own of Trek is a graphic novel that I haven't even opened. It will never be opened. I don't read them. Patrick Stewart's memoir and a little bit pin badge that's about this big. That's on one of my bags. I think it's on my Pride bag. Oh, I'm so jealous.
And I actually, I have the next generation. It's just the regular. It's just got the regular little pinhole ones.
Oh, I love the Voyager badges. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the next gen ones. But I really do. Ooh, excuse me, I do apologize.
That's okay. We're at 2 hours and 22 minutes, so I'm thinking, yeah, you're a little tired. I'm a little tired. I want to try and get out early tomorrow to do the lift thing because I need money. I've been getting too many $4 trips this week. It's just like,
Yeah, well, I think it's a good place to end the show.
unless just put it just at last grab. I guess we got 21 watching on StreamYard here. Anybody that wants to join in, just do so now or forever hold your pee. Which I've done a good job of that tonight, but TMI, but
TMI, so have I, love. I mean, you know, I've stripped off, I've got dressed again, but I haven't peed, so I'm very proud of myself.
Well, I think we're going to call this good. So next week again, saying we're gonna talk about the Voyager, the first feature length episode since the premiere, because everything else has been like two parters. This was made up as one episode, which later got broken up into two. Dark Frontier, so another Borg episode. So
I am going to be watching this episode on Netflix because over here, I don't know if it's the same across the pond, but across here, it's one on Netflix, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But on Paramount Plus, it's two separate.
Over in the States, it's as one episode here, so that's weird.
Unless they've changed it. But that's the last I knew on it. And a lot of the double episodes that, I mean, Best of Both Worlds, because that's like end and beginning, it is two separate episodes on both. But Dark Frontier, that's like mid-season. So, is it? Yeah, it's mid-season, isn't it?
Yeah, middle of season 5.
Yeah, because it's a mid-season thing. So on Netflix, they've done it as one, the same as Endgame. That's all one episode on Netflix. Whereas on Paramount Plus, it's two separate ones.
And I know Endgame's one episode over here as well, so that is bizarre.
Yeah, it really is.
But I guess it really depends on where you're watching it, because like on Pluto TV, they even break up the Emissary premiere for Deep Space Nine as 2 episodes, and it cuts out. They cut out Picard's final goodbye to O'Brien, and he beams O'Brien over to Ops.
On our Paramount Plus? Now, again, unless they've changed it, but would you know when we was reviewing old episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, is it Dark Frontier where, yeah, isn't it? It's Dark Frontier where
Seven goes back to the Borg Queen.
yeah, and Naomi tries to she comes up with a plan to try and track her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we was discussing this on Reading Warp Core back on Twitter, because we covered all the Borg,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having to go back and watch it on Netflix because certain scenes were cut out from Paramount Plus. It was 2 separate episodes on Paramount Plus, and certain scenes were cut out of it. That scene between Naomi and Janeway, that's cut short.
Huh.
On Paramount Plus. Again, they may have sorted it out, but when, like, back then, yeah, it was cut. The scene was shortened. So, yeah, this is why I'm always real funny about watching things on Paramount Plus over here, because things seem to be cut out. So when it comes to, like, I mean, I actually watched this episode on Paramount Plus because it was just easier. But like for Dark Frontier, because I know that scene is cut on Paramount Plus, I will be watching it on Netflix. So
while we're talking about it really quick right now, let's go Voyager season 5.
Do you just have it on Paramount Plus, or can you get it on Netflix as well across there?
I don't currently have Netflix, so I can't say one way or the other, but
because across here we can get them all on Paramount Plus, but on our Netflix we can get Next Gen, DS9, Enterprise, and Voyager. Yeah. That's
yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. No. I don't want to. I don't want. Yeah, Dark Frontiers, like the full like 92 minutes over here.
I'll have to check it again and let you know. Because with me using my TV as the monitor, I can't switch over or watch them both at the same time because my Amazon Prime and Netflix run through my TV, so it cut off my computer. But I will let you know. I will be checking it at some point soon.
Okay, and just one. So let's see here. Just one last plug for JTVFX, the number one. And it's saying check his YouTube out if you haven't already, because they do like a huge like prelude to Wolf 359, the massacre at Wolf 359. It's a lot of good stuff. He's got a lot of other cool stuff on there, like different for different genres, so like aliens, and I'm just looking at it right now here. But it's definitely a lot of Star Trek work done. He like one of them he does the intro of the Voyager in the style of Next Generation, which I thought was kind of cute.
I like that.
Yeah, and they just music got the Herogen, got the Species 8472 all in there, just like Mr. Paris set a course for home, and it's a lot of fun.
Sounds good.
But until next week, everybody, hailing frequencies are now closed.
Doodle.